Hey everybody, this is your Digital Super Saiyan 3, back here with another video, and welcome to my July pay-per-view review. For the month of July, I chose to do WWE's Money in the Bank 2010. It took place on July 18th, 2010, in the Sprint Center in Kansas City, Missouri. So yes, we're in Kansas City for this show. On commentary, you got Michael Cole, Matt Stryker, and Jerry the King Lawler. So here we are, opening contest of Money in the Bank 2010. The very first ever Money in the Bank pay-per-view is the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match. That's right, we got two ladder matches on this show. Both a Raw match and a SmackDown match. And for the SmackDown match, you have Kane defeating the likes of Kofi Kingston, the Intercontinental Champion, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Matt Hardy, Christian, The Big Show, and Cody Rhodes. So this was actually a really fun match to watch. You know, this was a really good Money in the Bank ladder match. Definitely the match of the night, as all these guys are just doing God knows what with the ladders. Like, the spots in this match were phenomenal. Kofi Kingston delivering a boom drop onto Drew McIntyre to the Spanish announce table. That was probably one of the best spots in this entire match. Big Show brings out a reinforced ladder because he can't really climb the regular ladders because the Big Show's feet are too big. So he gets this specially made ladder. But, you know, the match ends with Kane climbing the ladder. And, you know, Kane unleashes hell on this match. You know, you see Kane take a lot of early punishment in this match, but then he comes back, and he comes back hard in this match. Kane ends up winning the Money in the Bank briefcase after he threw McIntyre off of the ladder, and Kane is SmackDown's Mr. Money in the Bank. And we will see Kane later on in this show, so trust me, this isn't the only time we're going to see Kane on this show. Next up, we get into an interview segment where Josh Matthews is interviewing Sheamus ahead of his steel cage match against John Cena later on in the night, and how he talks about how he doesn't get any respect. And he does talk about the Nexus, because the Nexus had debuted not too long ago. So yes, the Nexus had debuted. And yes, they were the reason why Sheamus is the current WWE Champion in 2010, since I am talking about 2010. Next up, we get a Divas title match, I meant to say. We get Alicia Fox defeating Eve Torres to retain the Divas title. And yeah, this was not a good match at all. Like, did anyone really care about the Divas title? I mean, we all hated the Divas title. The Divas title, you know, it was one of the stupidest looking championships. It looked like a stupid butterfly. All it was a stupid butterfly. The championship looked so freaking stupid. No wonder why they eventually retired it in 2016. Thank God they retired the Divas title in 2016, because honestly, I'm sure everybody and their mother was sick of the Divas title by that point. Thank you, WWE, for finally retiring the Divas title. So yeah, Alicia Fox gets the victory over Eve Torres. Nothing more to be said here. And then we get into our next match. It's for the Unified Tag Team Championships, as the Hart Dynasty, David Hart Smith and Tyson Kidd with Natalya defeat the Usos with Tamina. Man, the Usos really came a long way since their early days in WWE. I mean, they went on to become multiple-time tag team champions, and, they went through so many looks. But, during their early stint with Tamina, yeah, I'm kind of glad the Usos kind of stopped including Tamina with them, because Tamina, I can't really think of anything positive I could say about Tamina. Yeah, I'm not a really big Tamina fan. I don't understand what's so special about Tamina. I mean, my favorite part is just watching Natalya just give her a scoop slam on the floor, and then Tyson Kidd locks. I believe it was Jimmy Uso that tapped out. Yeah, it was Jimmy Uso that was in the sharpshooter. No, it was David Hart Smith that tapped out to the sharpshooter. Or David Hart Smith who locked in the sharpshooter, I meant to say. Yeah, it was David Hart Smith who made Jimmy Uso tap out. And yeah, David Hart Smith, he is the son of the British Bulldog. Alright. Next up, we go to our next match, and it is for the World Heavyweight Championship. So this is a rematch from Fatal 4-Way, as the World Heavyweight Champion Rey Mysterio defeats Jack Swagger. That's right, a less than 100% Rey Mysterio, might I add, because Rey Mysterio, he was dealing with the effects of the ankle injury, that he has sustained by Jack Swagger, who had been repeatedly locking in the ankle lock, in the weeks leading up to Money in the Bank. Yeah, a less than 100% Rey Mysterio defeats a 100% Jack Swagger. Yeah, a hurt Rey Mysterio defeats a healthy Jack Swagger. I mean, Rey Mysterio ends up rolling up Swagger for the 1-2-3. And then Swagger gives Rey a post-match beatdown. Then Kane comes out. He beats up Swagger. Then Kane chases off Swagger. And then Kane comes back out and cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Rey Mysterio. 1 chokeslam. 1-2-3. Kane is the new World Heavyweight Champion. So, yeah. I'm actually okay with Kane winning the World Heavyweight Championship. So, I'm not really going to complain about it. So, props to Kane for becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. And, of course, you have Edge watching on a TV in the back, and he and Jericho get into an argument about who's going to win their Money in the Bank ladder match for Raw. And trust me, we'll get into the Raw ladder match soon. But our next match, it is for the Women's Championship, as one half of the Women's Champions, co-holder of the Women's title, you have Layla with Michelle McCool defending the Women's Championship against Kelly. And she has this chick named Tiffany with her. Who is Tiffany again? I can't remember. And no, not to be confused with Tiffany Stratton. This other chick named Tiffany that was in the WWE in 2010, But I can't complain much, so yeah. Layla ends up winning, and her and Michelle, Michelle did take a lot of punishment outside the ring. I'm gonna say that, but but Kelly still loses the match regardless. Now we get into the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. That's right, now we're getting into the Raw Money in the Bank ladder match. You have The Miz defeating Mark Henry, Ted DiBiase Jr., Randy Orton, Edge, Chris Jericho, Evan Bourne, and John Morrison. And this ladder match, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still a really good match. It was the second best match on this entire show. So I can't say anything bad about this match. It was still fun, and The Miz ends up winning the Money in the Bank the Money in the Bank contract for the Raw brand. And, you know, yeah, he would cash in at the end of the year against Randy Orton. He would cash in on Randy Orton on Raw. That would lead to the Miz's world title reign. And, yeah, Miz would win the WWE champion, you know, just 10 years or like 9 years later again in 2021. But he lost it shortly after he won it. So yeah, his second WWE title reign was shorter than his first. And yes, I forgot to mention, when The Miz won the Money in the Bank, he also was the U.S. champion. I also forgot to say he was the U.S. champion. And now we get into it. The main event, as Sheamus defeats John Cena to retain the WWE Championship inside a steel cage. Now, I wouldn't say this is the worst steel cage match ever, because it's far from it. The cage wasn't bad. This match was not bad. It was fine. It was whatever it was. It was still enjoyable nonetheless. It was still a solid cage match for the title match, for the WWE title. And yeah, the Nexus came out, and you see the Nexus try to get involved. Like, you see Michael Tarver come out, you know, he's got bolt cutters to try to get into the cage, but the referee steals the bolt cutters from Tarver. The Nexus try to get into the cage. Cena fights them off. He's fighting them off one at a time, and at the end of the day, Sheamus manages to sneak through and retain the WWE Championship. He climbed over the cage with the other members of the Nexus, soon hot on the heels of Sheamus. And then Cena, you know, he's not too happy about this. John Cena, he does get out of the cage, and when he gets out, he attacks both Darren Young and Michael Tarver of the Nexus. He beats them up, and I believe he took the armband off of Darren Young. Yeah, I believe he took Darren Young's armband off. His Nexus armband off, and that was about it. So, yes, this was WWE's Money in the Bank 2010. Final thoughts? I wouldn't say it's the worst show ever. I mean, it's definitely fine. You know, it does follow that trend of 2010 WWE pay-per-views of having such a mediocre sort of undercard, like a mediocre undercard at best. It was definitely a lot better than the Elimination Chamber that happened earlier this year, but yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this show. I mean, the Money in the Bank ladder matches were really fun to watch. The steel cage match wasn't bad. It was okay. Rey Mysterio and Jack Swagger had a solid match, albeit I wasn't a big Swagger fan, and I still don't understand what WWE saw in him as a main eventer. So yeah, that has been Money in the Bank 2010. So like I said, I had a lot of fun watching this show. It wasn't too bad. Anyway, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3. And I will see you guys next time when I tackle for August SummerSlam 1995. That's right, we're going back to 1995, people, with SummerSlam. See ya!